Well, they beat down Bama, and then they put up all sorts of records on poor East Texas A&M, if you had ever heard of them before. I got to say that I was introduced to East Texas A&M on Saturday, but Florida State knew what they were doing and took care of business quickly in that one. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And, of course, you know the deal. Leave those comments, questions there in the chat. Florida State Seminoles live for a 312th edition. Big game, James Coleman right next to me. Den Media Group. We got Georgitis, the Renegade Report. Guys, how we doing?
I'm doing good.
Hang in there, man. Hopefully I don't have a bear there in my audio, but excited, man. Florida State's number 10 in the country. Ready to talk about it.
Yeah. So, I was just telling these guys kind of a difficult assignment this week, considering bye week, Kent State the next week, and coming off East Texas A&M in regards to storylines and things to talk about, because, James, it just seems like everything's working. Everything's good. Everything's a positive. Is there anything going wrong on this football team right now?
I mean, outside of the unfortunate situation with Ethan Pritchard, the young man who got shot while visiting family just outside of Tallahassee, they got some little nagging, little injuries, but when you look at it, they probably don't need it to beat Kent State next weekend. They probably don't need some of these things to be able to achieve the goals in which they need to be able to achieve. So they're clicking on all cylinders. They overachieved by winning the first game against Alabama. And then what they did was they came back and they took care of business. That was a thorough behind whooping. The only blemish in that was giving up 3 points. But as I joked with one of my former teammates, whose son is now a legacy player, Antonio Cromartie, his son Antonio Cromartie Jr. Got a chance to play, and he says he gave his son a C because he should have broke on the ball and got the interception. And had he got that interception, the other team wouldn't have scored 3 points. But when you're making those kind of analysis, that's a very good problems to have. But as I told people, I'll know more about what this team is by how the Virginia hopefully victory will look. If it's another well orchestrated, very well constructed ball game, then we'll know what we're actually going into facing the University of Miami in the coming weeks. But all in all, it's very little to complain about. They look good. They handle business.
Yeah, because Virginia actually has played some capable football. They completely housed Coastal Carolina 48-7, I believe. And then they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against NC State and let it slip away, losing by 4, but still decent ACC game and playing competitively there. So that's not necessarily going to be a joke of a game, we wouldn't think, although Florida State's going to be a healthy favorite by, 20 points or so. All right, George, what's coming to mind for you about this football team and what are the pluses and maybe a minus or two?
The season just started just how we drew it up. You're talking about being 21-point favorites to open conference play. It's an amazing position to be in. James hit the nail on the head. It's Eastern Texas A&M. Dub was almost guaranteed. Just one of those games you actually probably could roll the helmet out there and get a W. Of course, that's a bit of hyperbole, but the energy and kind of the response to, okay, you just beat Alabama. Are you going to come out there and be lazy? No. The thing that stands out to me the most about the game is just how well coached the team is. You want to talk about our offensive line and how great the first unit has been. Man, the second and third unit came out there and looked better coached than anything we've seen at Florida State in a long time on the first team. You got a freshman like Sandman Thompson that James has talked about. We've talked about every episode in the past month. He's out here hitting his first guy and getting to this next level and hitting linebackers like we haven't seen in years. It's a beautiful thing to see. Florida State has had the ACC Offensive Lineman of the Week 2 weeks in a row. First, it was Luke Petitbon last week. This week was Adrian Medley. slid out the tackle when Pettis went down. You know, the offensive line never missed a step. So I guess just how well they were coached just really stands out to me as a beautiful thing to see. And we can go over the, like, Tommy Castellanos, since two touchdowns to Deuce Robinson. One of them was like 82 yards, his longest passing touchdown of his career. Just to do things against air aren't necessarily easy in football. You see, like, the Florida Gators watching their quarterback airmail it when he's got two dudes running wide open in the end zone. Like, it's not as easy as Tommy and Deuce and these guys have made it look. It just looks right. You've heard national people talk about it. There's just something about watching it. It's kind of just exceeded our wildest expectations so far, and hopefully the team isn't watching this. They've been doing a good job about not reading the press clippings and things like that. That'll be the fight the rest of the year, but man, it's a fun time with a bye week and then a cupcake. You open against Virginia and Miami, so fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a situation where had they had the result that we all anticipated, or most people anticipated, against Bama, then there's the long wait through cupcakes, knowing they're going to win these games by 40 and 50 points and maybe more, even if they're bad, even if they're not really a good Florida State team. They're still going to lay waste to these teams. And then you got to sit through a bye week, and you got to wade through, how long do we get to Virginia? And maybe we can't even judge against Virginia how good this football team is, versus you get the win against Bama. Then it's like, for the fan, at least, not for the player. James is going to tell us the players need to be, focused on every rep and hitting it hard. But for the fans, it's kind of like a coast for the next 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even through Virginia. We'll see, to get to the tougher part in the schedule and see if this team can back up what it did in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the key to being a championship team, or being elite, or being back, is being consistent. When I played at Florida State, and even the years before that, you had teams beat when they looked at the schedule. And, during this time, the transition post Jimbo, through Taggart, and then through some, and then kind of hit or miss at least half of Mike Norvell's tenure, it hasn't been a lot of fear. It's been like, yeah, okay, well, that's just those guys, and they may or may not come out, but there's a lack of consistency in the dominance. And what you felt was, okay, whoa, that's exactly what you want to do. And I mean, they went straight for the jugular very early, taking deep shots, proving that we have better athletes, better players, and even just vibing off of that. That's an energy that you can continue to build on. I will say 3 straight home games, 2/3 of which are kind of ducks before you go to a hostile environment in Charlottesville, going to Virginia, will again tell us what we need to know. But again, Charlottesville they play capable football, as you said, Mark. And the key is again, can you make everybody look like Alabama, or can you make everybody look like Eastern Directional School A&M, or can you make everybody look like Kent State? That is the difference, and that's kind of what you need. And then it builds a confidence, and confidence grows. Two things that grow like fungus is confidence and dissidence. So, like, if you're going in there and you guys are feeling like you can do everything, man, it's amazing when you're having one. As a guy who's had one of those days where you just feel like I can do whatever I want to do. Like, I can just go around and play around with this guy because I'm on a high. But then when you've dug a tunnel and you just feel like you can't do anything right, it's very difficult to get yourself out of that. Last season, that was where Florida State was. They were on the inverse of this trend. So again, it's just about, will they continue to do what's necessary in order to grow? And I like the energy. I like the coaching staff, and maybe there definitely was a need for a change of voice in the coaching staff, and it seems like it's been working.
We'll take those comments and questions, folks. This is a good week to do it. When there's a good game or a good opponent, either in the rear view mirror or up ahead, we got plenty to talk about here. So we just keep rolling with the conversation. So this is a good week to leave your comments and questions this week, the next couple of weeks, concerning position groups or whatever you're looking at about Florida State football. Do you guys run into, I would assume James, but I'll ask it to both of you, but do you guys run into Florida State football fans like on a daily basis? Like, do you guys have Florida State fans in your life?
Yeah, I have multiple group chats, people that I see around, even covering the Jags. It was a lot easier to go in the press box coming off of a FSU, some FSU dominance, especially in the Gator town. Jacksonville is Gator purgatory. I mean, it's Seminole purgatory because this is basically Gainesville North. But it's the question I get: are we back? And I'm like, let's just enjoy winning the same amount of games that we won last year. So, it's very easy to want to be that. And if you want to say we're back, man, go ahead. Have fun. You only live once. Be like, follow Thomas Castellanos, his say, like when he said we're going to beat Bama, go on and say we're back. Because if we're not in a couple of weeks, they're going to treat you the same way. So enjoy the wins while you have them. I'm just, like I said, it's fun. I always tell people when they're wearing garnet and gold that they look handsome. God has made them look a lot better because of that color combination.
Obviously, not. I don't have people coming up to me that often, as a analyst, or obviously didn't play at Florida State, but I live outside of Pensacola, Florida, and so anybody that knows the area, it's Knoll country. They're either Bama or Auburn or Florida State. I'd say you split the Bama and Auburn maybe 50-50, and the rest are Florida State fans around here. It's only 180 miles. That sign's right there on our exit, 180 miles to Tallahassee. So, I played the war chant after the Bama game my first day back to work, and I think half the shop, like 15 guys, were doing the chop. So definitely around Florida State fans. It's just a weight off, I'd say the least Florida State flags I've ever seen around here in my life was, kind of after the 4 years of Tebow. It was like all of a sudden all these Bama fans that never existed popped up. But it didn't take long at all. 2010, 2011, all of a sudden the Florida State flags started coming out again. So, anyways.
Yeah, so there's an interesting little tour being made by South Florida against the Big Three here. So they picked off one, and that wasn't necessarily a game. It was kind of on my back burner. It was there. And then about second quarter, with some other games not living up to expectations, I thought I'm going to lock in on this one. And I watched the rest of it. And so South Florida went to the Swamp. We know what they got accomplished there. Now they're going to Hard Rock. And then obviously Florida State and Miami get together. So did you guys get a chance to see the Gators go down?
To piggyback on what James was saying earlier, you talked about us needing a new voice in the locker room. I think it was huge. Mike stepping back and being a CEO and having Gus just be able to forget all the stuff of a head coach and just be focused in on offense. I think that's part of why we're so well coached. Also having an O-line coach that's been there and done it for years. Mark brings up this game. I mean, you watch this game, what goes through my mind is, oh, man, you're stuck in purgatory. Y'all are talking about 7 and 8 man O-line rotations. And here you got him announcing again he's going to continue to call plays. I almost feel like that era is just kind of passed by. There's just too many things with NIL, yada, yada, trying to keep guys in line. Anyways, that was my biggest takeaway. I'm curious if you share that sentiment when you're watching that game.
I watched that one for pure entertainment purposes. I enjoyed it. I'm not even gonna hold you. It could have. Maybe I could go back and watch the football stuff, but when Grammatica kicked the 58-yarder and missed it, I just figured, I was like, okay, the game is over. I was like, but it was good. Good. This is a win for South Florida, regardless, is how I felt about it. But then I went and I was driving back from my son's. I had a great weekend of football, Mark, by the way. 42-0 to high school Mandarin. My son, my baby boy didn't play. My oldest boy played his first game. We won 46-6, and the 6 points were BS. Then Florida State, won convincingly, and then Florida lost, and then Jags won, and it just was a great overall weekend. But I was like, okay, he missed it. We'll see. I'm driving back, and I'm like, okay, let me just go back and check the game out. I see 3rd and 8, and in a situation, you're winning, you're up by 1. Just run the ball. You know you're going to punt. Anyway, well, they throw it, and it was a dime. It shouldn't have been dropped, but it was. But this is why you don't have young players in these positions that often. And then I'm like, oh, my God, they left a lot of time on the clock, and they have 1 timeout. And even then, as they were driving, Billy had timeouts in his pocket that he did not use until it was just the dumbest opportunity. Also, seeing them fly off the handle with the undisciplined behavior, spitting in somebody's face, just moving the chains for them, and it was incredible. But from what I did, but without even watching the game, looking at the box score, you saw DJ Lagway the week before had a 29 QBR, not very good. I don't know if anybody knows that. He kind of wanted to be higher than that. And I was watching some of the clips, and I'm just like, man, put Tramel Jones in. I was like, put somebody else in, because clearly either Lagway is hurt or Billy and them are either overconfident or don't have the confidence to be able to do what they need to do. And they're going to be in a bad way because the stretch of games in which they have is going to be great. And what's ironic right now is, Mark, there's some people in your comments that are normally here consistently, but they're not here right now. And you don't have to hide. I know LSU, Miami, it's tough to find a game right now on that list where you're just going to say Florida's the better team. So, but I enjoyed that loss. It was great, and it couldn't happen to better people. The losses to the loss that Florida took to South Florida. So if they're able to come down and do that to Miami, that coach, South Florida just made a big hire for their CEO of athletics to try to be able to bring in money. If he's able to pull off this trifecta of 3 top 25 teams in 3 weeks, that man is gone. Like, actually, to be honest with you, he might have just did a live interview for his next job. Now, it's not as big of a name as other Florida fans would like, but he would be the perfect person for that job that's building things the right way.
All right, folks. Like I stated off the cuff, I didn't have a ton to bring to the table myself, obviously, considering a complete annihilation on Saturday and a bye week coming up. So if you got some comments, questions, we'll take them. In the meantime, what's going on at Den Media Group?
Shoot. Tons of stuff right now, man. The channel is popping. Football season and winning helps. Obviously, we're here we're trying to do every Tuesday night. We're definitely doing weekly with you. We've got Big Games BS where we're a few short of 7,000. We're 383. I'm guessing might be a little bit less, but we need to get to that 7,000 mark, subscriber mark. Once we get to that, we will be giving away $500 live on the show, another $200 to members. I also put in the thing, if we get our membership up to over 100, we'll do a special member giveaway. We had our first fantasy football weekend, but also NFL pigskin pick'em weekend. So people are getting some money, having a good time on Den Media Group. We're streaming high school games. We'll stream Mandarin versus Bradford. This will be our 3rd week. We keep getting better, keep adding camera angles to that. So if you want to see some of the best players in the nation, that's going to be a really good matchup between Bradford this Friday coming up on the Den Media Group network. So appreciate everybody for the support.
George, we got the Renegade Report.
That's right. 3,000, almost 3,100 strong. Similar to this show, we're not doing set shows exactly every week. We're kind of moving around people's schedules and getting in there when we can. But tomorrow at 8:15 Eastern, we do have the Renegade Row scheduled with Jen Santee and Tiny Hat CEO as always. And their special guest this week will be Trey Rowland of the Rowcast and Nobles 247. It'll be fun to see him get on there, maybe put some, cut a pro wrestling promo like he does when he's having fun with those guys over there. and a little bit of the roast with Tiny Hat and Jen. See how that all comes together. That should be a lot of fun. And we try to get a FSU football podcast once a week too. So just look out for the next one of those.
All right, guys. I don't have anything else. Nobody ever said that these shows had to be an hour long. So you guys let me know if you got anything else. We got no comments. We got tons of comments, but nothing to really respond to in the chat.
One of the things that a lot of people are concerned about is some of the injuries. Nothing major. Squirrel White has his hand, I believe, but he should be back by Virginia. Randy Pittman, his knee is a little banged up, but nothing crazy that they're having. So that was the other cool things to get out of these two games with minor injuries. And just some of the statistics that normally I'm liking what our Mike Norvell, one of the biggest things this offseason, Mike Norvell's checking a lot of boxes right now. Recruiting has been one of his things that he's been heavily critiqued on, and relying too heavily on the transfer portal. But one of the things that Florida State has done very, very well in these last couple of weeks is answer those questions. One, you see the energy in which the recruits are now talking about Florida State. But by the numbers, you're seeing FSU's actual in-house media taking a book out of some rivals media. What's his name? I always call him Gabby Urethra. It's not urethra. It's your son.
Urudia.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So they snatched it away from the 247 beat, these other guys, and they were very upset. Mark, I don't know if you were paying attention this summer, but there was a lot of temper tantrums thrown. Numerous temper tantrums thrown over and over again about, they're not letting us watch practice, and I'm not media. I am not an FSU beat writer. I will never claim that. I don't do that. I just happen to be a guy who talks about Florida State every now and then. I am a Jaguars beat writer, so it's a difference. But I got a chance to watch practice, and I'm listening to what their inside scoops are, and it's clear that either people were given the misinformation or they don't have scoops. They don't have inside sources in which they think they do, because they were talking about some stuff that they have absolutely no idea, which is what a lot of them do. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have passions. I have a passion for gardening. Right now, I'm getting better at it. But if you want me to give you a breakdown, I don't have the same. I'm not the same as somebody who went to school for it or that lived that. But I could give you some gardening advice. But I'm just not as good as other people. It takes some time. But when I look at this stuff, the positivity that is coming out and controlling your own narrative is one of the best things that you could do. So I'm looking right here. You got they showed their guys who are the transfers. You got Gavin Sawchuk. He had 88 yards so far this season, 3 touchdowns. You had Castellanos. You see his numbers. You see Jerry Wilson, corner that came in. Earl Little Jr., who wasn't this year's transfer class. He was in last year's transfer class, and now you're starting to see him climb up the charts of top safeties in the nation. Deuce Robinson hit the stat sheets in a big way this past game. Just a lot of really good guys. Right now, you're seeing guys with a draft grade. The guys who makes the combine fun. When I can go up there and I know I got 11 guys that I can go talk to, that I can go say, what up, brother? Congratulations on rocking the shield. But the biggest thing that I liked is the instant impact. Gabby Urethra was talking about like how much the freshmen played and how they don't have to heavily rely in the transfer portal, even though they got more transfer portal guys than we got. And they got guys transferring out now. But here were the numbers. 17 true freshmen played in last Saturday's game. And when you go back and you look at who scored impact touchdowns, they were from out of high school that you saw guys. You saw almost every running back eat in the last game, and that's very difficult. You saw Sam Singleton, the guy they recruited. Cam Davis was able to get some carries. I call him Osama bin Laden. Usman Cromwell. He was able to get some stuff. Kid from my high school. He's got 2 touchdowns that were on big things, being able to show the fact that he's one of the fastest men in the world in the 400, and that's Makai Danzy, looking like a fast me out there, scoring touchdowns in big games. You got Max Redmond, who a lot of people don't really know about. Kevin Sperry went out there and he was spinning the ball. So every quarterback, Brock Glenn looked good. You had both twins have been playing very, very good, who were flips, late additions to Florida State's recruiting class last year. I actually made a joke. You got good twin and you got bad twin. Now, bad twin looking good because he's been eating and he's been working out. I think he's going to be more of an interior lineman. The good twin is more of a defensive end. He's firing off that ball. And what I need people to start doing is, while good stuff is happening, embrace, share, retweet. Shout out to Derek Ray. Derek Ray was talking his shit when I saw him at Alabama, and he was like, where are all them people who said, I don't know, I need to be fired from a job? He's like, I can't say anything, but James, you can say it. I said, you goddamn right, I'm going to say it for you. My bad. So you dadgum right, I'm going to say it for you, D-Ray. D-Ray went out there and retweeted, said, who built this class? And the thing is just that you see a lot of good stuff starting to come out as Florida State is doing a better job of controlling the narrative. And what I always tell people is this: you don't need credentials to be able to talk about Florida State. Georgia got one of the best Florida State podcasts that's out there. My brother CJ Wilson has one of the best Florida State podcasts that's out there. So a lot of guys that got good stuff, they don't have to go out there and take pictures and chase little boys after school to get interviews for them. If you got a TV, common sense, and you can watch ball, you're going to know exactly what you can do and what you can't do. And I think it's about, at the end of the day, it's about they've had the ingredients, but now the chefs that are cooking it are a little bit different. Where you got Gus Malzahn, who's out here cooking the ingredients. This is the same stuff we had last year, just tastes different. Herb Hand. All these guys are working in conjunction, doing well. And as I've said on your show numerous times, you got a top 20 offense that was at UCF that everybody says the talent base wasn't nowhere near as good as what they have at Florida State. Now you got Tony White that came over here with Pot Roast. Pot Roast, you can't say Pot Roast doesn't have these guys playing like their hair is on fire. It's not that Odell wasn't great. It's just that maybe Odell got a little long in the tooth. And you needed a different voice. So Odell came out there, Odell and Pot Roast, they've done a great job. You got Ernie Sims in there helping coach linebackers. You've got a lot of guys that are there with that Tony White system. And what they've done is top 10, they were top 20 defense at Nebraska. We can all say the ingredients are better over here. And it is dope. And I think that's where people need to be paying attention and situate the positives. Even my guy, who are not of the Seminole Nation, was hating his voice. And now if another guy comes on board, and I think he was doing your show for a little bit, Mark, but, my guy Sam, we got Seymour on board.
Yeah.
Seymour Stacks is out here making positive tweets. Now, Sam, because, my guy Sam is a little of a negative Nancy, if you would. Like, Sam was saying it's unsustainable when we were going 13-0. Like, you just be happy. Be happy for it. Love it. I still will say this is a 8-9 win team, Mark. I'm not finna drink the Kool-Aid all the way. But if they beat Virginia handsomely, they beat Virginia really, really good, some elite lies might start getting told. But right now, I'm a little gun shy, but at this juncture, you have to be positive about what Mike Norvell can do and bouncing back and preparing people for big games.
Hey, shout out Derek Ray. I never went on any crazy tangents, but when Mike Alford came out and just talking how important that GM position was and all the added responsibility and the $22+ million coming in from the school side, my take was like, Derek Ray was on an unreal heater, his first 3-4 years in Tallahassee. For whatever reason, maybe one day when he retires, we can find out what happened in that 25 class, I guess you would call it, and how they completely kind of changed their philosophy and everything. I guess it's just because they had so many high school guys coming back. They really bought in on what Alex Atkins was bringing, whatever reason. End of story. I was pretty critical of him. So shout out to him because they got right back to it where they just got guys on a visit and got them to commit. If they didn't, they were on to the next guy. They weren't waiting around till Wednesday for Caden Salter to make it to town. No, they signed Tommy. And so, yeah, shout out Derek Ray. He absolutely killed it. And you talked about those coaches, man. Tony White, the more film, the more snaps you get to see. This may be a one-time go-around in Tallahassee if this thing keeps going how it is because, man, he's to do what he's done at Syracuse and then get to Nebraska and immediately flip it and then get here and take, which our defense, everybody knows, me and you, James, both know the defense wasn't as bad as it was statistically just due to how much it kept getting put on the field with the time of possession. But on paper, everybody knows FSU went 2-10 and this is what their defense was. And now here it is, top 10 or whatever it is through the first 2 weeks. It's a beautiful thing. So like James said, just enjoy it while it's here. We got one great year with Pruitt in a national championship. If something crazy like that happens with Tony White, I'll be his biggest fan wherever he ends up.
You saw they just offered Julian Cromartie, the other corner.
Let's go.
I'm pretty sure that's the corner out of San Diego. He got a son that's a wide receiver that lives with him as well. Yeah, my bad. Did we mention Earl Little? Like Earl Little is playing insane right now. Like it's fun when you're winning. I can tell you that much. It's a lot easier to talk good about them right now.
Amari Williams, I think the first player in FSU history with a sack and a touchdown in a game. It may have just been a long, long time, but pretty cool to see him go out there, get a touchdown, and then get to ask if he can go in on defense. He gets like 2 or 3 snaps and gets a sack. Pretty cool to see.
I've actually compared him to our version of he was originally supposed to be one of us. That's why my son doesn't like him as a Jaguar now. But I call him our FSU's version of Travis Hunter because he can go out there and give you some good quality plays at tight end, but also he's really good at rushing the passer. I saw him in practice here in Jacksonville, and he did some really, really incredible things athletically, takes care of his body very well. Dad played in the NFL. He comes from good genes. So it's, really, really good. Amari Landon and Randy Pittman, and you add in Biscuit, Marquise and Douglas. That's a really solid tight end room that you have a ton of versatility in. And I just want to really emphasize the voice of what Herb Hand has been able to do and the overall physicality of what Florida State's offensive line is. That was something that they've been lacking the last few years. And I'm not here to take any shots at Alex Atkins. It just is maybe sometimes it's just different things. People can get different stuff out of you. And again, I think both fronts, the O-line and the D-line, that has been what's been the most impressive right now is just how much more physical they have been than everybody else. And still not even just East Texas A&M is one thing, but just how much they out-physicaled Alabama when that's what Alabama's calling card has been. And they still recruit big, massive offensive linemen. Most of our fan base was saying that that's why we would lose, would be the trenches. And we don't recruit body types. We don't have guys who look like they're guys. But then, we look really good when we lined up. So, again, it's all about now, to quote my teammate Brian McFadden, smell the perfume. Don't drink it. It smells good right now. Just don't get drunk with it. Go out there each and every week and do what you need to do. And that would just go out with the intention to be 1-0 each week. And we all may be a lot more surprised at where this season would go. And I think it was just, yeah. I mean, I get shock is something that I don't want to say, but if they're able to be consistent, that would show that that Mike Norvell's message is really sticking with them.
Good stuff. Good stuff out of both of you. All right, folks, we get together with James and George each week. We'll try to nail down a specific time, but what we do is announce that early in the week. So by Sunday or so, we will let you know when we're going to be here each and every week. And so this is probably one of the destinations, Tuesday at 7 Eastern. So lock it in. If you subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications, you're going to get that notification to know when we go live. All right, guys. Appreciate you being here, making this happen.
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Thanks, James. Thanks, George.
All about the Knowles, baby.